BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we do not have a guest. We are going to talk about the release of our All Big Country basketball teams, boys and girls, which occurred over the weekend and really did pretty well. We were very proud of what we produced.
Yeah, I thought they turned out really well, as they always do. This is one of my favorite things to do at the end of each of these seasons. I mean, one of the reasons, really the reason that we started this company was to as a way to celebrate the area athletes and to really kind of highlight their achievements. And that's the sole purpose of these All Big Country Preps teams. And we got a lot of kids in there that we got to honor for a great season. And this kind of puts a bow on what was a really fun basketball season. And I think when you look at those teams, there's a lot of talent that really jumps off the page at you.
We have first, second, and third teams for both boys and girls. And we also have something that we're, a couple of things that we're very proud of that you're not going to find anywhere else in the big country. Number one, we have the Rising Stars team where we celebrate the top underclassmen in the big country. These are names that you're going to be hearing a lot of in the future. These are the top freshmen and sophomores in the entire big country, and there's a whole bunch of them, Dan, that we were able to honor. We also have the Big Country Preps Gym Rat team, which is a very unique team where, and this is another thing you don't see elsewhere in the media throughout the big country. We're in Texas, as far as I'm concerned. I've never seen anybody do what we're doing with this. The Gym Rat team celebrates hard work, good citizens. Those kids that are just the best, hardworking, most coachable, best work ethic group of kids, the toughest kids out there. We celebrate them here. They're not necessarily the best players, but they're the best of the best as far as students and just being great people.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I really like about the Gym Rat team, and we do this for all the sports, and it's not necessarily the same name, but the same concept, where we do just honor those kids from all these programs that just do things right. That's one thing I really enjoy about that process, is we give coaches a chance to pick somebody on their team that they want to have recognized for that purpose. Somebody that doesn't necessarily have to be the best player. Some of these guys are, these kids, boys and girls, are great players. It's kids that, at the end of the bench that just show up and really set a great example. And that's one thing I think is really neat about it, is it does give those coaches an opportunity to highlight, whoever they want, the kid on their roster that just shows up and it represents what you want represented in the student athlete. So I'm really pleased with how that team turned out, and really all of our teams. When you look at the Rising Stars, the first, second, third team through that Gym Rat team, there's just so many kids that get honored on this thing. And that's one thing I'm really proud of, is it gives a lot of kids an opportunity to get recognized for what they did, because there is a lot of talent in this area. And at the end of the day, I'm really pleased with how our teams turned out.
Yeah, there's a lot of work being done out there, and a lot of people that don't get recognized otherwise. And we try to leave no stone unturned here. And if you deserve recognition, we try to get it to you. And we're very proud of that.
Yeah, and just before we move forward, we say this generally speaking every time we do one of these teams, but I think it's important to do, and that's to say a thanks to the coaches for their participation. We got a ton of nominees for this thing, and I was really, really pleased that with the turnout there, just with the number of nominations we got. That's always really nice to see when you got coaches who are wanting to see their kids recognized, and then they're sending in these nominations. We can't do this without what they do. So I do think it's important to thank them before we move forward.
Absolutely. A special thanks to all of the area basketball coaches. Without your cooperation, we cannot put this together. We can't honor these kids without your help and without your input. The coaches were just tremendous again this year in providing us with the information. And a special thanks to all of you ladies and gentlemen out there who did take part in this. It's something we take a lot of pride in, but we can't do it without you.
Yeah, definitely. So, and we're going to talk about, we'll kind of highlight the kids who were honored as our superlatives and as our first team as we go forward. But yeah, I think both you and I are very proud and very pleased with how this turned out.
Before we jump into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stanford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And with that, Dan, we're going to jump into the girls' side of the Big Country Preps basketball team. We'll start with the superlatives. We'll start right off the bat with our Player of the Year, Claire Graham, who really has been, it's no surprise there. This is one of just the Um, she's been one of the best all-around basketball players in the big country for years. A 4-year starter over at Jim Ned, and just a major talent. And we're going to be sorry to see her go, but she'll still be available. She'll be playing basketball right here in Abilene for ACU.
Yeah, I mean, Claire's a great player. She's one that Coach Cooley kind of clued us in on very early in her career, saying, "Hey, this girl's, a player of the year type player," and she has been now our player of the year for 2 consecutive years, and for good reason. You look at what she did throughout her career at Jim Ned. I think she was part of a program that went 125-15 over her 4 years, 52-1 in district play, basically reached the regional tournament every year. And then statistically, it all kind of matches up too when you talk about some of the things she does really on both ends of the court. 15 points per game on almost 43% shooting, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, more than 2 steals. I mean, she does it all. And when you watch her play, she's, like you said, a very special talent. So I think when you look at throughout the area, we had some other candidates for that honor. We had some other really good players, but I think when you look at everything that she brings to the court, I think that she was the pick for player of the year.
All right. Our offensive MVP for 2022 was a bit of a surprise because she did not go into this season as the star player in Stanford. It was really Tylee Jo Bevel who was considered the star player at Stanford. Tylee Jo suffered an offseason knee injury, played through it, but was, and gradually got better and better, but was not at 100%. Leilona Aplin is our offensive MVP this year for the entire big country. And that came as a surprise because she really emerged as a star player and a first-rate scorer, somebody that could score on anybody, and averaged 22.8 points per game this year and helped Stanford get to the state championship game.
Yeah, honestly, when I mentioned we had other candidates for that player of the year honor, I mean, Aplin was a really good one. She was right there neck and neck for that honor. But you look at what she did on offense in particular, 22.8 points, an enormous number, and in addition to, almost 4 assists per game. But that's not all she does either. I mean, she's also a really good defensive player where she averaged over 5.5 steals per game, almost 5 rebounds. I mean, she really did it all. She fit what Coach Joe Crabb did there to a T. She was kind of in the middle of their trapping press. And then offensively, she was kind of the straw that stirred the drink for him. But her emergence this year, and she was good in the past. She was kind of the 1B to Tylee Jo's 1A, but she took such a huge step forward in terms of kind of becoming that go-to player. It was pretty remarkable to see, and she played a massive role in what they were able to accomplish this year and making it to their first state championship.
All right,
state tournament. Sorry.
Our defensive MVP, another Jim Ned player, Ashlyn Galvin, takes that honor. And there's a lot of good defenders in the big country. There's a lot of big stats to comb through. But Ashlyn took it, being the defensive stopper for the Lady Indians. One of the stats that jump off the board with her, well, 2.4 steals a game is quite a bit, but she deflected almost 100 passes during the course of the year. She was constantly disrupting offensive flow from the opposition. And she was always assigned to guard the top scorer on the other team. And with Jim Ned's schedule, that means you're pretty much every night going against a stud player. And that's a lot. That's a lot to undertake right there. But she still had great numbers despite drawing that assignment, every night.
Yeah. And really, I mean, the thing about defense is that's something that you have to really want to be good at and really work hard to be good at and really devote a big part of your game to. And I think that's what makes Ashlyn a special player, is that she does put in so much effort on that end of the court. You talked about the deflections, which were kind of another worldly number. She also averaged almost 2.5 steals per game. But she's another one that really did a lot of different things for Jim Ned. 12.5 points, over 3 rebounds, almost 3 assists. Just a really good player in a group that was probably one of the best guard groups that Jim Ned's ever had, and she was a big part of that. But you look at what they do defensively; she's such a huge part of their defensive success. So I think a very worthy honor there for her as the defensive MVP.
All right, our newcomer of the year from Anson, Maddie Dollar, and the numbers that she produced as a 9th grader, taking the floor for the first time against varsity competition and in a difficult district, by the way. I mean, that's a tough 2A district that she's playing in. She averaged 15 points and 10 boards a game. She's averaging a double-double, and she's just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are remarkable. You talked about that double double. She also averaged over 3.5 steals, over 2.5 assists, and almost 3 pass deflections per game. But I think the thing that makes her really impressive is that she jumped into a team, onto a roster that had some really good guards to begin with, and just really, kind of jumped in there and made herself a force. And really, and Anson was all the better for it. That was a really good Anson team this year, and Maddie had played a big role in that. You look at those numbers as just a freshman, it's pretty remarkable when you think about what she might accomplish over the course of her career.
All right. And our coach of the year, Joe Crabb, a guy who had a nice run at Strawn for several years, left the Big Country area for jobs at Garden City and Bowie before returning to Stanford this year, where he won 36 of 39 games, went 36-3, and guided the Lady Bulldogs to the state championship game, where they fell to Groover, but were competitive with a great Groover team. What a year. And he also, along the way, collected his 700th career win. And of all places to do it, that's one of the toughest places to play in the Big Country, at Haskell in a playoff game where, I mean, the atmosphere was just off the chart tough. Yeah. And one career win, number 700 there. What a year for Joe.
Yeah, a remarkable season for him. It was fun to watch. I got to see both of the games at the regional tournament where they beat up on Munster and then the defending state champion, Lipan Lady Indians. So they had a great season and really were pretty dominant all year long. They won all 3 of their tournaments in the non-district portion of their schedule, went undefeated through district, and had that just tremendous playoff run. But I think that the thing about Coach Crabb this year is he'll be the first to tell you that he inherited a lot of talent at Stanford. They had a really good team in terms of personnel. But one thing I thought that he did that was a big part of their success and the big reason for why he's our coach of the year is he brought systems to what they do that fit their talent like a glove. You talk about that trapping press. They had such good guards, such athletic guards with such remarkable conditioning that they had girls. I mean, they had 3 girls who basically played 32 minutes a night, running up and down the court, trapping on defense, getting back on, and then getting back in the half court, and then running a pretty up-tempo offense. So just what he was able to bring and kind of get his talent to fit what he was doing, I thought was a huge part of what they were able to do and why they were able to succeed the way they were.
One question we'll just never be able to answer is how good the Stanford girls would have been in 2022 had Tylee Jo Bevel not suffered the knee injury and been at truly 100%, because I mean, she was just a great player when she's healthy. She's a great player, great athlete. Mm-hmm. If that had not happened, and also one thing that a lot of people forget is they had a quality big in Citlali Gutierrez, the pitcher who was decided to go strictly softball this year. And you can't blame her. She's going to UT. And with all the knee injuries in girls basketball, it's kind of risky. It's a risky thing to try. She elected to go strictly softball. I don't blame her. I think that's probably a good move for her. But how good would they have been if Tylee Jo is healthy and they've got Citlali out there as well? Yeah. What a team that might have been. It may have been good enough. Who knows? Because they were competitive as is with Groover. It's no telling how good that team would have been.
But with that situation, you basically have 4 6-footers, all of which are talented. When you talk about adding Citlali to a group that also already included Audrey Brewer, Lainey Lefevre, and then Tylee Jo, who did, and I was really happy for her that she was able to make a major contribution to what they did. Yes. In fact, she's on our honorable mention, which if you check out those teams, you'll see all those kids averaged double digits this year, despite the fact that she was slowed. You could tell watching her play, she didn't have the same burst that she usually has had in the past because she's playing with an ACL injury that's really in the timetable of her return is pretty nuts when you think about it. Most kids who have that injury aren't back as quickly as she was. And the fact that she was able to contribute as much as she was is pretty impressive. But you are right. With her at full strength, you throw another 6-footer onto that roster, it would have been pretty crazy to see what they might have accomplished. But to get to the state championship game, despite that, I think kind of tells you the team they had and kind of tells you the job that Coach Crabb did.
All right. And with that, it's just about time to jump over to the boys' side on our All Big Country Preps team for 2022. But before we do that, we need to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, Capital Farm Credit, which brings you these Wednesday night podcasts throughout the school year. Also, for the love of the game, broadcasting on our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of KLAX 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KATX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and 98.5 FM KWBY out of Ranger. That is for the love of the game broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, new or used, give Rob a shot. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Call him at 254-559-2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. And finally, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give him a shout at 325-669-5153 or visit his website at philhillproperties.com. And with that, Dan, it's time to jump over to the boys' side where we have another. I mean, it's another group that we're very proud of. If we could get these guys on the same court at the same time, we'd be looking at a dang good basketball team. We'll start off as our player of the year. He's been one of the best athletes in the area for years, and he's going to be playing football at the collegiate level at Texas A&M Commerce. That will be Dawson Hearn of Cisco. He's not only a quality big, but he could probably play just about any position out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a kid that does everything for him. He can handle the ball. He can go inside if you need him to. I mean, he does it all. He's a big kid at 6'4", but his numbers were pretty staggering. You talk about over 20 points per game, almost 10 rebounds per game, over 5 assists, over 3 steals, and all that while shooting 54% from the field and over 50% from 3-point. So he's a kid that is a remarkable basketball talent. Obviously, he's the son of a basketball coach. I mean, he's a fun kid to watch. And the one thing I was really pleased to see this year is we saw him injure his knee late in their football run last year, which cost him his basketball season as a junior.
Yes.
So it was nice to see him not only get back on the court, but be able to have this type of season because he's a really special player.
He's a special athlete. I mean, he's one of those kids that just be good at anything he tries.
Yeah. And he
has. The thing is, he's going to be playing college football, but basketball might be his best game.
Yeah,
basketball might be his best game, but he's gonna be playing college football. He's just one of those guys that's good at anything he does.
Yeah, and just before we move on, it's important to mention he led Cisco to the region tournament again this year. I mean, he was a huge part of that run. So it was not only the individual success, but team success as well, where he led them to a 72-15 record during his time there.
All right, and with that, we're going to move on to our offensive MVP, Avery Brecky from Wiley, the big man, the 6'7" big man. Who, Dan, I know that you've been pretty high on this guy's game for quite a while. He is an outstanding player.
Yeah, he is. And if you like traditional back to the basket, old school post play, this dude's your man. He is so good offensively in that role. And what's crazy is you look at the numbers. He averaged over 19 points, over 11 rebounds per game, shot 65% from the field. And what you don't see in those numbers is that he gets extra attention from everyone they play. So he is doubled pretty much all the time and still manages to dominate games. He was a really, really fun player to watch. He's been a key player for the Wiley varsity since he was a sophomore. Really, the last 2 years as a junior and senior really came into his own, and then he finished so strong. So it was neat to see him take that honor. But he's one that Wiley will definitely miss, and he's one that is really fun to watch in the post.
All right, and with that, we're going to move on to our defensive MVP. That is Vic Cooper of Early, Dan, a player that a lot of people may not be familiar with. Now, he could score. He was averaging 19.5 points per game, but he also, one of the big things that he was really good at were defensive rebounds. He averaged 11.2 boards per night, kept the opposition off the offensive glass. He also got 2.5 steals and averaged 1.1 blocks, a quality defender.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that was just a great player, a great athlete. You'll see his name in our track bests and come regional track time as well. He's a really good jumper for them. But 6'5" kid that's just a game changer. I mean, the Early went 23-11 this year out of one of the toughest 3A districts in the state. You're talking about a district with Brock and Peaster, and they finished third in that district with a really nice 10-4 record. And he was a big part of that. He is a really good basketball player. Like you said, is probably under some folks' radar, but he's been doing it for a while now. And he only got better and better. This senior year, he really, really showed what he was capable of.
All right, our newcomer of the year, Grayson Rigdon of Strawn. And when you consider that this kid's only a freshman, his numbers, I mean, for a senior, it'd be insane. Mm-hmm. And granted, at the Class 1A level, sometimes you'll see a player take over and get really, big numbers. But these numbers are just off the chart. A freshman averaging 29.2 points, 10.3 boards per game, and 8.5 assists. He was 1.5 assists away, Dan, from averaging a triple-double. That's insane for a freshman. It's insane for anybody.
No, and he's good. Here's how you know he's good, is that you would hear people talk about Strawn And the first thing is that they mentioned that Rigdon kid. So like he would be the first thing they mentioned about, and that's a team with a 6-7 post player as well, which is unusual for a 1A team. But everybody mentioned just how good he was, and you look at the numbers: almost 30 points per game, over 10 rebounds per game, 8.5 assists per game, and then he also averaged 4 steals, and I mean just a ridiculous season.
Yes.
And I think the thing that makes it even more impressive is that you hear people talk about running, a box and 1 against a star player. They were basically running a triangle and 2 with 2 guys on him at all times. I mean, he was facing all sorts of defenses, exotic defenses, and still put those numbers up. And the fact that he's a freshman, it's crazy.
Well, actually, that defense is called the Triangle and Grayson.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're talking about putting 2 guys on him at all times. In fact, their coach's dad sent me some pictures with that where he'd be in the backcourt away from the action. They'd still have 2 kids just hovering around. No one wanted to leave him alone because of what he was capable of doing.
And still averaged a triple double.
And still almost averaged, the triple double.
Insanity.
That future is very, very bright.
Insane. How good is this kid going to be by the time he's a senior? It's insane.
It's pretty scary to think about, particularly at the 1A level, where, like you said, it's pretty remarkable.
All right, our Big Country Coach of the Year, Hermle's Sam Winters, who, I mean, really has pushed that program to new heights, got him into their first ever regional tournament. On the boys' side, they finished 28-9, and he was just thrilled when he heard that he had won Coach of the Year, and not just for himself, but just for his entire program, all the kids in that program. He's really excited, ecstatic about where that program's heading, and he deserves this award.
Yeah, I mean, no one was more deserving, in my opinion. I mean, we had other coaches do great jobs, but when you look at what this meant for that program, this was their first region tournament appearance ever. He got them to the region championship game with a group that just played really good basketball together. And then obviously he played a massive role in what they were able to accomplish. But it was neat seeing the enthusiasm build, because this is a school that has had a really strong girls program under Dwayne Hopper that's kind of gotten accustomed to getting to the region tournament. But you could see kind of the excitement and kind of how pleased Coach Winters and his players were that they were able to be a part of that as well, where it was both the boys and girls. One thing he talked about is how close those 2 groups were. So it's kind of neat to see those 2 support each other throughout their runs. But Coach Winters did a great job, and he's a guy that's meant a lot to the Hermle athletic program. He's coached football, he coaches baseball, he does everything there, and this, what he did with this basketball team in particular, was very impressive.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, first off, I want to again extend a thank you to all of the coaches who helped put this team together. Without their contributions, we can't do this. We can't honor this many kids without the coaches' help. And again, thank you to all of you.
Yeah, and just what a basketball season. What a fun basketball season this was. It was nice after, a tumultuous couple of years with some COVID things and some restrictions. It was nice to have a full basketball season and see these kids, playing in front of full crowds again. And it was a really fun basketball season with a lot of success, with a lot of deep runs. I mean, you covered 4 girls teams down at state. It's cool to see all the kids we've been following that made this such a special basketball season honored, and this kind of puts a nice bow on what was really a really fun season. So I'm glad we were able to put out these teams. I'm really pleased with how they turned out.
All right. Before we split, we want to remind you that we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where you knock that price down to $4 a month. And we've got an annual 12-month subscription where you knock that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you, if you see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, those are available for purchase. You can purchase a digital download for just $7. We also have some keepsakes and prints available. So make sure you check those out. As you're scrolling through the site, you'll notice pretty quickly we take a lot of photos from these events we're at. It's something that we really enjoy doing and something we're very proud of here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.